Memorial Island Advisory Committee meeting. And yes, time does fly, and you just never know. So with that, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So Curtis, could you help me with that? Raise your hand.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'd like to now look at the minutes from September. It was sent out via email. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections for the September 2nd minutes?
I didn't see any, Mr.
Me either.
Chairman.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion for them to be?
I'll make a motion they be accepted and incorporated.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Okay. Moving on. Audience participation, and again, anybody that's watching, you are sure welcome. The public is encouraged to come, and we do appreciate input for Memorial Island. I know there are a ton of folks that get out to the island, so if you're watching and you would like to contribute, you can come to these meetings, or just grab one of us as you see us on the side of the street, and we'd be glad to chat with you. So, okay, moving on to new business. Mr. Sam Coons, if you could talk to us about Veterans Day coming up, please.
Good morning, committee.
Morning.
Good morning, Sam.
The Indian River Veterans Council will once again host Veterans Day 2015 on your Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary on Wednesday, November 11th, starting at 9 o'clock. There'll be a couple of differences this year from the ceremonies in the past. The big difference being school will be in session. So we do not anticipate meeting the 2,000 that we had for Memorial Day, according to Mr. Slezak. However, we have arranged that the Vero Beach Band will be there. The Masters Academy will not be in session, so their fife and drum corps will be there. And then we've been in contact with 2 Boy Scout troops. We will have enough Boy Scouts to head out programs and water. There'll be full military honors, as always. Another difference this year is in the past, we've been a little reluctant to recognize the United States Coast Guard. So we're going to change that in spades on Veterans Day. We're going to have a special guest, Master Chief Petty Officer of the United States Coast Guard, which is the same as Command Sergeant Major of the Army. He served us 4 years. He will be a guest on the stage, and he will be introduced by Vero Beach's own Captain John Pita, U.S. Coast Guard retired. And the Master Chief will speak for a few minutes about the Coast Guard. I told him about 10 minutes. The keynote speaker for this year's Veterans Day will be Lieutenant General, retired Jim Johnson. Jim is my West Point classmate. He served 34 years in the Army. He commanded the 82nd Airborne Division during Desert Storm, and he jumped with the 82nd into Panama to capture President Noriega a few years after that. So we're looking forward. Everything's going well. I'm very happy with our planning committee. We have our final planning committee meeting in 2 weeks. John Michael Matthews of your group is one of the strong people on that committee. And as a last point, we would like to invite Alma Leroy to sit on the stage and be introduced to represent your committee. Any questions?
Thank you.
I have one, Sam. I know that Vero Beach finally got their own chapter for the Civil Air Patrol. Has anybody contacted them at all with the Civil Air Patrol for the chapter for Vero?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, and I think we have a color guard from the Civil Air Patrol.
That's correct. Okay, great.
Yeah. Anything else?
Very nice.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks. Okay. Rob had to step out, so we'll get back to him. Oh, he just stepped in. Mr. Slezak, if you could. Why do I have that? Yeah. Updale Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary references. There you go. Can you elucidate on that for us?
Okay, yes, Rob Slezak, Recreation Director. I know that you are looking for upgrading and updating all your information, correct?
Right.
Okay, I have spoken with Rita, and their department will take care of that, making sure that that happens within the with the group, and I'll let Rita take control here.
Yeah, we have posted most of it out there on the website. I did do a final for the where it has listed for the reference to the cenotaph markers and use of the island. It also had the new rules and regulations attached to that, so I had that updated as well.
Okay, all right. And just for the public's knowledge, if you go to the recreation site, there is a location there where if you would like to have a function on the island, there's forms and information. And with the changes for the policies and procedures, now there's a little bit more latitude, so that's being revised. And then the other location at the city site was specifically for Memorial Island, and that information had been updated with the latest policies and procedures. So I think we're good.
Resolution,
All right,
yeah.
great.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to old business. Mr. Dexter, if we could learn a little bit about the restoration.
Good morning, Don Dexter, Public Works. And I spoke with the vendor a couple weeks ago, and he thought that it would the cross would be delivered this week.
Wow.
Haven't seen it yet. I sent him an email yesterday just to verify, and I haven't heard back from him. So hopefully this week it'll get shipped in, and we'll get it installed. If not, I would think in the next week or so we should have it in. So
Wow.
from what he's told me. So
Cool. That's very good. And it was of the same type of marble or close to it. Is that from Florida? Where they? Do you know
I'm not
where
sure.
they're getting it out of?
The granite, the samples I saw were a North Carolina granite. I'm not sure where they're sourcing the material, but it sounds like it's going to be a very close match. And looking at the pictures that he sent of the samples, it's a very close match. It's probably not identical, but it's very close.
Okay. And who's the company that's doing it?
Feldner Studios, Feldner, and they're from Fellsmere.
Okay. Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. Fantastic. Okay. Any questions?
Well, that really brings us up to date.
It does. It does. And Rob, if you could mention any observations for the vigil from your crew?
Yes, I heard from our crew. It went very well. I know you had a crowd of roughly 70 people, and everything went thumbs up. It was really a good event, and the weather held off.
And I just need to take the opportunity to let everybody know, and Jim know, that it is amazing the support that the city of Vero Beach provides us. I mean, because it sounds like a pretty simple thing. Okay, well, just have a little ceremony on Friday afternoon. Well, Friday evening ceremonies aren't a simple thing in Florida when you have thunderstorms that are rumbling around. And Bob came out the day before, and it was, we had tidal basins on the island at that time, and the support. I mean, he said, "Sir, really, should we be going in the grass next to the monument, or can we relook at something at a different location?" And he did cheetah flips to assist us, and in fact, the opportunity to relocate was also made available to us. So we did a backup plan in case we got inundated, that possibly we could have gone to the river house. And I'm just, I cannot say enough about the support that your division provided to us. And the audio support, and even the good Lord helped us out, because at the end of the day, when we looked up to the west, we had a magnificent sunset, and I think people really appreciated it. So you're doing amazing things, and thank you.
Well, thank you. And I was going to say that a big thank you to my staff, but also to Annette, Don, and Monty's staff. They also help out big time, and I know they step in too. So thank you from all of us.
Well, it does my heart good. So thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to what we like to do every month, and that's highlight several of the veterans that were covered. And I was using a variable calendar for last month, and so on the agenda it identifies Walter Shipley, and so Walter Shipley was recognized in September on the Bob Seuss radio. However, he's not here today in our accounts and will be next month. So with that, Barb, if you could read about Mr. Loudermilk.
Specialist 4th Class James Elliott Loudermilk, U.S. Army, killed in action December 27, 1967. James Loudermilk was born March 17, 1947. He was a Specialist 4th Class in the U.S. Army. He was assigned to the Charlie Company 4th Battalion, 199th Infantry Brigade. James was killed in action on December 27, 1967, near Ben Ho, South Vietnam. His brother William told of the combat. Ellis was an RTO radio telephone operator for his platoon. He carried a large pack radio and was the communications connection for his lieutenant. As they entered an area that was supposed to have been cleared, Ellis sensed an ambush. When he turned to alert the following men, a mine was detonated. It killed his lieutenant and mortally wounded him. Ironically, James Ellis was not supposed to be in the military. He was originally classified 4F, not meeting minimal physical standards because of his feet. Ellis was only 20 years old. Vero Beach was his home of record. James Ellis had an older half-brother, James Powers Loudermilk, Jr. He was born in 1925. James Powers was in the U.S. Marine Corps in World War II. He was killed in Iwo Jima on February 19, 1945. James Ellis' cenotaph is located in Column D, Row 4. James Powers is located in Column G, Row 7. The Loudermilk family plot is located in Winter Beach Cemetery. William Loudermilk is a surviving brother that served in the U.S. Marine Corps in Vietnam. He resides in Vero Beach.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Emily?
Okay. Gunner's Mate 3rd Class Charles Adrian Harlock, United States Navy, killed August the 10th, 1943. Gunner Harlock was highlighted with other World War II veterans in March. He was part of the U.S. Navy gun crew. Charles served aboard the USS Penn Royal and the USS Andrew Hamilton. He enlisted on January the 6th, 1942, and was killed at the age of 20 on August the 10th, 1943. Charles was born in Fort Pierce and grew up in Wabasso. The Hallstrom family is a pioneer family of Indian River County. In September, the Historical and Genealogical Societies hosted an open house. In conversation, it was noted that both the Hallstrom and the Harlock family had a common discovery. That discovery was that both had memorial markers that had been unearthed at Cresslawn Cemetery. The Hallstroms had markers found in 2013, and the Harlocks in only months past. Charles Harlock's memorial was located by Steve, the Cresslawn sexton, after inquiry following the VMIS March 2015 highlights. It was known that a memorial marker existed because an application was submitted by his father on March 9, 1949. The Harlocks, like the Loudermilks, have brothers honored with cenotaphs. Charles and his brother Robert's cenotaphs are side by side. They are found in columns C and D, row 8. Both of the Harlocks were United States Navy World War II casualties.
It was amazing to me because when I called over to Steve, and I'd visit the Crestlawn Cemetery and go to the Harlocks family area, and I'd see Mom and Dad and his brother who was killed aboard the submarine. And it just, it was just something there. And then going back and doing more work and then realizing that an application, and I just left a little note for Steve. I said, Steve, can you just double check? And he must have sent somebody out there with a rod because it was buried. And I don't know how heavy that, the marker is on top of a, like yay by yay marble base, and he lifted that up, and now he's right there beside his brother and his folks. So it was a great discovery. Okay. The third Friday of September is set aside by the nation to honor POW MIA veterans. An evening vigil was held on the 18th, hosted by the Veterans Council. In the ceremony, formal honors were rendered to the families attending the service and the men with cenotaphs that were MIA or POW. Those men are listed below. There were 5 prisoners of war that are honored with cenotaphs. Tech Sergeant Edward Courtney, who was a World War II infantryman who died in a German POW camp. Second Lieutenant Joseph W. Hill, who was a P-40 pilot who died in the Camp Rabaul Japanese POW camp. Corporal John A. King, who was a Korean War soldier who suffered 2 years in a Chinese POW camp in North Korea. Osceola Sheffield Specialist Tech 5 Sergeant, who was a German POW near Bitburg, Germany. He was assigned to the 6th to 30th Tank Battalion. And then Private Robert Hurst, who was assigned to an Air Force signal company in the Philippines, who survived the Bataan Death March but died in a Japanese POW camp. And then in research of the men on the island, 16 were in fact listed as MIA. Some had their fate later learned. Others, their final demise is still not known. Clifford Barnwell was a World War II black soldier who was killed in a harbor explosion in the Pacific. Ebert Blanton was a soldier assigned to the Army in World War II in Germany, who was missing in action and later determined. James Egan was a lieutenant in the Marine Corps in Vietnam who went missing in action and was never found or identified. Gene Guy Evans was a sailor aboard the Reuben James who was killed at the beginning of World War II and lost at sea. George Frey was an infantryman with the 24th Infantry in Korea and Daejeon, not located. Robert Harlock was the brother of Charles Harlock, and he was aboard a submarine, USS Dorado, and the entire crew was lost off of in the Mediterranean, but in the Caribbean. And then Ernest Hayward was a Green Beret, and he was missing in action and later found and was killed. Luther Edward Hogan was a member of an anti-submarine bomber, and they were lost in the North Atlantic and never located. Courtney Jones was a bomber pilot with a B-24, lost off of the eastern coast of Italy. John H. Cuppers was a P-47 fighter pilot in the Air Force World War II, awarded the Silver Star, and was initially missing in action and then located. And then Bill McCulley, William C. McCulley, was assigned to the 2nd Armored Division in Germany. Initially was missing in action and later found. He received the Distinguished Service Cross. Then John Mixon, who was a Navy sailor, and he was aboard a U.S. Army transport ship. Jack, he was sunk. The ship was sunk by German submarines in the Caribbean. And then Howard Peavy was assigned to the Alaskan Department in their military which was a part of ours, returning on leave during the war. His aircraft crashed and no remains were ever recovered, and is still missing. And Felix Popple was a World War I coastie. He was aboard the USS Tampa, and it was sunk by a German sub and missing in action, lost at sea. And Bobby Jean Thomas, a Korean Air Force airman, was lost at sea when his C-124 was ditched and never recovered. And finally, Clyde Williams was a 24th Infantry Division soldier who went missing in action and lost in Korea. And lastly, we still have many men that are unaccounted for. There were 6 from the Iraq and other conflicts recent. There were almost 1,600 from Vietnam and Southeast Asia. The Korean War had about 7,800 unaccounted for. And incredibly, from World War II, there are still 73,515 unaccounted for. A lot. So, Curtis?
Private First Class Billy Templeton, United States Army, killed in action November 9th, 1967. Billy Templeton was a single soldier of the Baptist faith. He was born January 28th, 1948 in Pelham, Georgia. PFC Templeton died in the service of his country on November 9th, 1967 in the Quang Nam province, Vietnam. On that day, 8 soldiers were killed. 4 of the men were recognized for valor. His cause of death was listed as small arms and automatic weapons fire. At the time, he was 19 years of age. His tour in Vietnam began September 23, 1967, and he was a casualty less than 8 weeks later. PFC Templeton's awards include the Combat Infantry Badge, honored on the Vietnam Veterans, and Purple Heart, He was buried with military honors in Row 1, Gifford Cemetery. Billy is honored on the Vietnam Veteran Memorial at panel 29E, line 63. The 4th Infantry Division Association webpage has video of division operations that include the time when Billy was in combat. The 35th Regiment, the Cacti, completed a monument located at Fort Benning, Georgia in 2013.
I would just encourage folks, if you're interested in learning of the members that are honored on Memorial Island, today, because of all of the modern technology, you can learn a lot that's there. The video of Vietnam operations by the 4th Infantry Division, which is what Templeton belonged, is pretty dramatic. It explained what was happening at the time, and it's almost said too often, but war is hell, and sometimes we lose sight of it. And when you look at these accounts and you see the videos that show of the actions that were going on, you appreciate what these men suffered and what they gave for their country. Anything from the committee?
I'm good.
Curtis?
Nope.
Barb?
I'm good.
Ma'am?
I just kind of thought we might
That's right.
announce October the 10th. You remember that's the day that they're going to have the DAR is going to have their
Right.
day of service on the island, celebrating the 125th anniversary of DAR. And that nice young lady named Susan Bauer that was here and told us all about it, they're going to be cleaning the plaques on the monuments. So I'd like to wish them all well, and I hope we have good weather on Saturday morning so those ladies can get their jobs done.
And I believe they've asked if you want to assist in the process to show up. It's at 10 o'clock, my understanding?
8 o'clock.
I think it's 8 o'clock.
Is it 8 o'clock? Oh, that's better, so it's not so hot. So you can roll over and get you some breakfast beforehand and then go on over to the island and help out. Mm-hmm. All right, good. Also, it would be appropriate, I think, to mention that we have a dear friend of the veterans and also Memorial Island, without doubt, Dick Cornell passed away. And so from the committee, I think we want to share our sense of loss and appreciation to the family. Mr. Cornell was an infantryman. He was assigned to the 3rd Infantry, which served in World War II. And he was a man of joy and inspiration, and he led the effort with the Vero Beach High School band for many years that put together the Red, White, and Blue concert. And we knew we had a great patriot in Dick, and I just want to say, again, thank you to that Memorial Island directly benefited from him, as did the veterans here in Indian River County. So,
God bless.
God bless. Okay. The next meeting will be November 4th, right here. And, sir?
Thank you, Jim.
Jim?
Just a comment, I had a couple of 4-H club members drop into my office yesterday with their leader, and a project that they were thinking about is cleaning headstones at the cemetery of veterans. And Tony, I gave them your name and told them about this committee that meets here.
Okay.
I delved into it a little bit further with them, and they had not even been to the cemetery yet. So I said, and I asked their leader, why don't you go take a drive through the cemetery, look at what it is, and come back with some type of business plan. But I told them that you would
Okay.
be a good contact on the names and the particular headstones that would work there.
Okay, very good.
So we'll do that. I also have one minor question. What is a cheetah flip?
It's a military term of just imagine when you have a dozen things to do and you only have time to do 7 of them. That's when you have these cheetah flips going on.
Cheetah flips, okay.
Where you're attempting to get them all accomplished.
I pictured this cheetah running down real fast, but I didn't think about one of
So
them.
did I.
That's right. That's right.
And going,
Very good. I love it.
Okay. All right. Anything else from everybody? Okay. Again, wow. Next month is the November month, and we will be into the holiday mode. So please come join the DAR on this weekend and assist with Memorial Island. And then please put on your save the date, the 11th of November for
Wednesday.
Veterans Day. It'll be a Memorial Island, and I know that there will also be one later in the day in Sebastian. So thank you.
We're adjourned.
We are adjourned.